Hello and welcome to the first episode in the series How to Not Be Terrible. Today we're going to cover one important aspect of Battlefield 4, namely aiming. Aiming can be broken down into four sub-components: recoil control, spread control, target acquisition and target prioritization. We're going to start by covering the first two, recoil and spread control. I'm going to showcase this using one of the automatic weapons with the highest vertical recoil in the game, the Ace-52C QB. The first thing you want to do with any weapon is to check the recoil pattern. This will tell you two things: how aggressively you need to control the vertical recoil, and whether or not the side-to-side recoil have to be controlled as well. You can do this by simply unloading all your bullets straight at a wall without controlling the recoil at all. As you can see, the recoil pattern for the Ace-52 is pretty simple: straight up. Hence, in order to control this recoil, we just do the opposite. We pull the mouse straight down. This gives us a nice clumped pattern instead. Of course, this is with holding the button down the entire time, letting the weapon reach full spread, which is fine at this range, but at longer ranges you will need to use shorter bursts to more accurately clamp your bullets together. This is 1/3 of the magazine in every burst, 8 to 10 round bursts depending on magazine size, and this is 5 to 6 round bursts. And finally 2 to 4 round bursts. This is really only useful for extreme long range shots, 150 plus meters for assault rifles and carbines. Most of the time at this range you'd want to try to use the environment to get closer rather than wasting the ammunition. But there are exceptions to every rule. Now let's cover controlling your recoil against moving targets. As most of you have probably figured out, it involves the same movements we used earlier, but in addition we now also have to trace the target with our crosshair. Imagine the target running horizontally along the red line on that building. And now we try one spray without controlling your recoil at all. As you can see, the first and second bullet may have hit the target, but none of the subsequent bullets did. So how do we remedy this? The same way we did earlier: hold the mouse down while tracing the target at the opposite angle of the spread pattern we now have on the wall. As you can see, most of those bullets would most likely have hit the moving target. Now let's try that once more. Just pull straight down at an angle. For moving targets at longer ranges, you obviously have to fire in small bursts, like we did earlier. This is just as easy against moving targets. Just pull down at an angle, like I showed you, but let go of your left mouse button for a split second and then re-engage it again. The next part will cover target acquisition and target prioritization. I will start with target prioritization, as it is the harder one of the two, but the easiest one to explain. It basically means that you will always want to kill the biggest threat first. Imagine these two target dummies being two enemy players. This right one here is facing you with his primary weapon out. The left target has his back turned to you and most likely has no idea you are there. Obviously the guy aiming at you is the primary target. But after he dies you need to switch targets fast, since the guy on the left who has his back turned is now likely aware of you being behind him. This is easier to explain in actual gameplay, so I recorded some footage of Locker TDM. I apologize for the lower quality. My PC has some minor troubles handling high quality recording and playing at the same time. Here I come up to the example I showed you earlier. Two targets. One is facing my direction, the other target has his back turned. The first target I acquire in the heat of the moment is the target with his back turned. I quickly realized that this is a mistake, since the right target is the higher threat. As I realized my mistake, I quickly switched targets, forfeiting one kill to make sure that I stay alive longer. I heal up and quickly check for any threats behind me. As I turn back, I see that the guy I killed has been revived. Since I killed him, he knows exactly where I am. His reviver, however, still hasn't figured it out. So despite him not being able to fire his weapon for another second or so, I deem him the highest threat. Again. I then turn my attention to his reviver before he can get away again. I take another quick peek behind me just to be sure no other threats snuck up. As I jump around the corner, mostly to avoid being a target too fast myself, I notice 3 guys this time. One is proning, facing me. The medic is also facing me, but does not have his primary weapon equipped, and is instead holding his defibrillators. The third player is facing a completely different way. I am likely outside of his peripheral vision. Since the medic needs time to switch weapon and acquire me as a target, I decide the proning person is the highest threat. As soon as my green hit marker indicates I got the kill, I immediately switch to the medic before he can get his primary weapon out. With the 2 high threat targets down, I disengage my ADS to increase my sensitivity, thus quickly enabling me to target the third and last person before he turns around. Around the next corner there's only 2 targets, one that's facing me and one that isn't. By now it should be obvious which target dies first. The rest of the clip has no high threat targets. It's basically just a cleanup of their spawn since the TDM spawn point now been switched. I will now play the full clip at normal speed to give you a sense of time on my thought process.